some women watching this aren't just a little stuck. Some of us are dealing with real pressure, financial strain, health scares, legal battles, caregiver exhaustion. And when life is serious, advice like just change your mindset can feel absurd, which raises an important question. Are you overloaded or are you actually in a crisis? Not long ago, a woman wrote to me and said how lovely it would be to have the luxury of being a little stuck instead of fighting serious crises every day. And that message stayed with me. It stayed with me because she was right. For someone in the middle of a literal storm, being told to take a simple step or being asked if they're a little stuck can feel like being handed a paper umbrella in a hurricane. It feels dismissive. But it also made me realize something else. Various life situations carry differing weights, right? And that differing weight may require a different solution or approach or even an orientation. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to tell the difference between being overloaded and being in a crisis, because those two situations require very different kinds of support. This is just a simple way to look at where you might fall on what I like to call the range of pressure between carrying a heavy load and navigating a serious crisis. The level of pressure we carry matters, and something else matters just as much: how we are carrying it. Not so you judge yourself and not so you think I'm judging you. Again, this is not about shame. It's also not about diagnosis, and it's definitely not about judgment. It's also not about comparison. This is about you making the right kind of choice for the right kind of support that you need. The personal development world often assumes everyone's problem is light or easy to manage. Just change your mindset, think positively, rewrite your beliefs. But when life is genuinely heavy or chaotic, that advice can feel disconnected from reality. At the same time, our culture has swung in a different direction, where normal human overwhelm is immediately treated as dysfunction, where stress, exhaustion, and life pressure are sometimes labeled as pathology. Many capable women end up trapped in one of those two extremes. Compounding that is how we view what we're dealing with. When life becomes intense, we often experience it as one big category. For instance, everything is too much. But in reality, pressure exists on a spectrum, that range of pressure that I mentioned before. At one end of that range is overload. At the other end of that range is destabilization. Both are serious and both deserve support, but they require different kinds of support. And the key difference comes down to this. Are we still holding the wheel? Are we still in the driver's seat? Are we still driving our lives? So to determine where we land on the range of pressure, the real question isn't how hard is your life right now? The question is, how much steering capacity do you still have? So let's take a look at how we can determine the answer to this question. I call this the wheel test. The overloaded woman may be in a loop. Her nervous system, her mind, her body may be in overdrive, meaning she might feel fearful, overwhelmed, overtaxed, emotionally raw. Her thoughts may be looping, they may be racing, her blood pressure might be high, but she is still capable of driving. She's still capable of reflection, still capable of making decisions. She might take some wrong turns, but she can still look at a map. She may feel like she's battling crises, and maybe she is truly battling crises, but she's still holding the wheel. She still is capable. When someone is overloaded but still capable, when she is still holding the steering wheel, three signals are usually still present. First signal is reflection. This is where, even under pressure, we can still step back and observe our situation, even for a short time. We are capable of even a little self-inquiry. We can ask ourselves, even if we don't receive full clarity or an answer or a solution, we can ask ourselves questions. For instance, what is happening here? What needs to change? What are my options? Is this impossible crisis feeling like a 10 out of 10 every single second of the day? Reflection may look like sitting in your car after a day at work and thinking, I'm really reacting strongly to that email that I got. Why is that? Overloaded systems struggle, yet reflection still exists. The opposite of this is destabilization. In terms of reflection, in true destabilization, that reflective distance can disappear. The brain moves into survival mode. There is reaction, but very little perspective. This is where the load exceeds the human system's capacity to process it. Destabilization may look like being so fused with the anger or the fear that there's no why. There's only the storm. You aren't watching the movie anymore. You are trapped inside the screen. The next signal is agency. We may feel uncertain. We may feel a little threatened. We may even feel scared. We may second guess ourselves, but we're still capable of making decisions, even imperfect ones. Overloaded women may feel mentally noisy or chaotic and emotionally stretched, but the ability to choose is still there. Overload is being at the grocery store, feeling stressed, but still picking out the milk and heading to the checkout. In terms of agency, when someone is destabilized, decisions become impossible or wildly impulsive. The brain has lost the ability to prioritize information. Because everything feels like a level 10 crisis, a small decision carries the weight of a life or death choice. Destabilization may look like standing in that same aisle for 20 minutes, staring at two brands of bread, and feeling a rising sense of panic because you can't physically compute which one to buy. When a loaf of bread feels as high stakes as a divorce or bankruptcy, the steering has disappeared. This is also where the person cannot talk or think about anything else except the crises. They are looping without any new insight. It's a broken record, not a conversation. The third signal is function. This is the daily structure of our lives, right? That daily structure still exists. We may feel exhausted, we may feel discouraged, but we still show up. We're still handling responsibilities. We're still moving through the basic structure of our lives. That is often what overload looks like. Carrying a tremendous load, but still standing, still steering. Functioning means you might be crying in the shower, but you still get dressed, you still feed the dog, and you still show up for that meeting. You are what I like to call plowing through. On the other hand, destabilization in terms of one's capacity or capability to function is when the structure dissolves. It's the unpaid bills piling up, not because you're busy, but because you can't look at them. It's 3 days without a shower. It's a total withdrawal from the people who love you. It's when showing up is no longer an option that you can access. Complete destabilization needs the support of a specialist, without a doubt. Now, there are times when the storm is severe and it rocks your system, but you're not fully destabilized. You may be in the middle zone, what I like to call under siege, right? This middle zone, or being under siege, is very important to talk about. This is when you're still holding the wheel, you're still functioning, you're thinking, you're showing up, but you're driving through a proverbial war zone or a proverbial natural disaster. The road you are on has become a critical load zone. This is when you're facing, so-called existential threats that go beyond everyday stress. I'm talking about a serious medical diagnosis like stage 4 cancer, navigating an active abusive relationship or an unsafe home. It's dealing with catastrophic fraud or bankruptcy. It's that raw, jagged aftermath of a sudden death or betrayal. In this middle zone, again, you're not broken and you're not destabilized. In fact, you're often being very incredibly strong. But because the threat is external and severe, again, you may need a specialist. If there is a gas leak in your house, you don't need a renovation plan, you need a gas expert. So how does a capable woman move from under siege to destabilized? It's usually not one thing. It's usually like a system failure. So watch for specific triggers such as what I like to call the compound fracture or the stack. So it's not just the divorce, it's the divorce plus the aging parent plus the health scare. The brain simply trips the circuit breaker to save itself. It's a lot to deal with. 2 is what I like to call biological hardware failure. If you aren't sleeping, if maybe you're self-medicating with alcohol to numb the hum, or if your health is collapsing, your steering may disappear. You may not be able to run a new operating system if your hardware is broken. Not that you're broken, but the system is not quite functioning. The next is the moral injury. This is the shock of a double life or a profound betrayal by someone who was supposed to be your safe harbor. It shatters your ability to trust your own reality. You aren't weak, you're in shock. The next is the isolation vacuum. A woman can carry an impossible load for a long time if she has support, particularly specialized support. Destabilization often happens when the situation becomes too heavy to carry alone and you're not seeking help. The last is what I like to call prolonged hypervigilance or the burned out alarm. If a woman has been in the critical zone for years, always waiting for the next shoe to drop, the nervous system eventually breaks the alarm and the body enters, a sense of collapse or numbness. Now, if you recognize yourself in those triggers, if the steering has already disappeared, you deserve specialized help to get your hands back on the wheel. This isn't a judgment of character. It's an audit of your load to capacity ratio. Even the strongest bridge in the world has a weight limit. If you're at a level 4 or 5 on the range of pressure scale, it doesn't mean you're weak. It means the physics of your life are currently exceeding the physics of your nervous system. That's not an opinion, that's math. So allow me to say that again. Recognizing where you currently are and perhaps seeking specialized support is not weakness. This is not about shame or judgment or comparison. It's an intelligent response to destabilizing circumstances so that you can get the bleep out of it. Now, let me be clear about what we do here at Wise Women Wellbeing. Without a doubt, if you are in the overloaded end of the range of pressure, the work we do here can very much help you. If you're in that critical zone, if the road is a war zone, but you're still holding the wheel, our program, the Happiness Operating System, can help you stay regulated and steady while you navigate the storm, but it's not a replacement for either a lawyer, a trauma therapist, or a medical doctor. We here can't change the road, nor do we do the driving for you, but our tools and practices can help strengthen the driver, that is you, so you can navigate the impossible without losing yourself in the process. Now, a quick word about our happiness operating system. First, we believe through our experiences that happiness is the practice of well-being in the midst of real constraints. Second, we also believe again through our experiences, that happiness isn't a destination, it's a system. It's a system that increases your capacity to navigate real life. To install our happiness operating system, we use tools and processes, and I often refer to them as simple. And when I refer to them as simple, it's not because our lives are simple or the situations we're navigating are simple. It's because when a system is overloaded, complexity makes everything worse. When the nervous system, when our minds and our bodies are in that inflamed state, more strategy doesn't help, more analysis sometimes doesn't help. What helps is breathing room. Regulation helps. Structure helps. And our tools are designed to create breathing room inside of whatever storm we're navigating. They don't erase the storm. They don't trivialize the storm. They widen our capacity inside it. And then with repeated application, the storm becomes easier to navigate. So again, this is not about pretending the storm isn't real. It's about restoring the woman that has to sail through it. If we are capable enough to reflect, even if we're exhausted, even if it's only for a short period of time, we are not beyond support. We are overloaded. And overloaded systems can be recalibrated. So as you listened to this today, you may have noticed something. Even under pressure, you might still be holding the wheel. And if that is true, something important follows, because there are 5 specific signals that appear when a woman is ready to start rebuilding her spark again. In the next video, I will show you exactly what those signals are. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you at the next one.